Así lo es. Indigenous, African, and European people consorted and intermingled, fought and slept together. They misunderstood and learned about, despised and sometimes adored each other. John Charles Chastain, born of blood and fire. Así lo es. She's standing in the shower, shrouded in ghosts. Not all the noise surrounding her is white. The water near scalding, the water meeting her back like the knees meet a pew, like a blade meets an arrow, like a spear meets the hesitant edge of a potato, undecided on whether it's done growing or not. Like the sun meets the mountain, meets the sea, meets the roof, meets something everywhere the light touches. She carries soap in her hands. She rubs, closes her hands like a prayer, then opens her palms like a book. This worship of the body is unholy. Fresa plunges in, pink bubbling into each gap she holds between her dripping fingers. Slime stands in for skin, lullabies the pores, making grief slippery and clean. Fresa is the breath. She brings her nose to her palms, inhales, nose to palms, inhales, hoping to stay a while. Her skin already pinkening from a color she'd have to look up to know the name of. She notices where the sun has drawn lines across her body, across stomach, across ribs, here white, here not. She traces across these with her pointer finger, indoctrinates them with her palm. The soap leaves a slug track where an artist would pull the eraser across paper, making shade a bordered thing. She steps out of the shower. There is a room she is trying hard not to step inside. She slips off the ghost cloak, rubs away the water droplets, no longer singing on her skin. She is writing the same poem again. The poem about her, the poem about language, the poem about the body, her body, and collective bodies, the poem about the ghost without parentheses, the poem that could be elegy, the poem that finds blanks wherever it steps or scrawls, the poem about September, a familiar chilling, the poem about heritage, the poem about being mixed like a paint sample, the poem that wraps it all up with a button, the poem that fabricates and wants to quilt without instructions, the poem about place, the poem about summer, about sun, about Sunday, about forgetting, the poem that tries to remember, the poem donde palabras que no sabe cómo usar son, the poem about the gold chain on her neck, which was in fact Italian, which became Mexican upon her grandmother's neck, which is hers, the poem todavía, the day she's waiting for su abuela, nuestra bloodline, to whisper through the links. For a loop is a ghost's favorite shape, to tell the history she spun around her neck, coiled into her brittle, reddened hairs, her story, a burnt-up CD, something like brain, something like ash, a whisper of what it was before. She is writing the same poem again. Again, she is missing something. There is no good word for the opposite of ancestors. She is this. And words in her mouth are wounds, too. Wounds she's trying to heal, and more so those she's gouging accidentally. If nosotros is a word on her lips, we've lost a truer word somewhere. We've moved across land. We've been through something you wouldn't quite want to call an encounter, but could, but have. Así lo es. The world is prescribed, and we get a square to scribble in, and if it doesn't get erasured or burned alive or conquered or disrespected, it may just survive, and you may too. We aren't the untouchables, ni the ones you've seen on screen or pressed your palm to feel something. We're the ones who've done violence, the correct and the incorrect, which some of us named and some of us believed. We've had to write and rewrite our way to you for hundreds of years. But beware, the lies are still out there, and the truth is, more often than not, a narrow, squeamish thing. Thank you.
I wanted to just give a little intro of why this is such an art-centric program. Most of you know I am born and raised in Brazil, and back home we have a tradition of really incorporating art as the fuel for our struggles. I think reality is difficult enough, and when we're coming to terms with the challenges of displacement, the challenges of oppression and violence, we can't just do all celebrations and happiness. So when our words don't suffice, art does the job of refilling our souls, and we call that a mística. So in parts, that's what you just experienced thanks to Fiona's poetry. So now I want to invite to the stage our historian in place of the Peace and Justice Center, or resident historian, forgive me, and one of my favorite people, my comrade Josh Soretti, to introduce our awardees. Go ahead, Josh.
Thanks, Eleni. Thanks, everybody. Great to see so many of you out here. I have the enormous honor this year of introducing this year's Dottie Dale Youth Peacemaker Awardee, as well as this year's Rosemary and Howard Harris Lifetime Peacemaker Award winner. And I just want to say, from my increasingly middle-aged perspective, it's a real privilege to have so many younger and older people in our movements to look up to. So that is... And it's good to see such an intergenerational gathering here, too. So I first became aware of Alfredo Juarez, or Lalo, not long after I moved to Bellingham, when this city's police department, against their own policies, shipped him off to immigrant detention after a routine traffic stop. Those June 2015 events exemplified many aspects of the current criminal legal system that are in desperate need of transformation. We could see racial profiling, the sort of targeting of youth, and we can see a system that was designed only to punish. At the same time, those events really revealed some of the people power that was already building and already organizing around it. And because of those events, and because of the people who showed up and stood up against this injustice, I was personally able to connect with groups like Community to Community Development and the Whatcom Civil Rights Project that eventually led me to the Whatcom Peace and Justice Center and led to me standing up here today. And Lalo certainly didn't let that injustice slow him down or stop his path. In addition to reaching a historic settlement with the city in response to his federal civil rights complaint, in recent years, he's emerged as a leader in the struggles for worker justice and for immigrant justice as an organizer for Familias Unidas por la Justicia. Woo! Let's hear it. As an FUJ organizer, Lalo is on the ground every day, working closely with farm workers who are hyper-exploited within the capitalist food system while facing indifference under labor law and abandonment by public institutions that protect property over people. Lalo has already done so much to confront unjust systems and construct paths towards food justice, racial justice, immigrant justice, and worker justice. And we know that this work has just begun and isn't going to stop. So we are very delighted, and the Whatcom Peace and Justice Center is honored to name Lalo this year's Dottie Dale Youth Peacemaker Awardee. Please join me in welcoming Lalo to the stage.
Hi everyone, my name is Alfredo Juarez Seferino. I'm also known as Lelo. The reason I tell everybody that my name is Lelo is because when I was born, my mom wanted me to be named Lelo, but I couldn't be named that, so they changed it to Alfredo. So yeah, I started organizing when I was 12. That's when we first walked up at a berry field in Skagit. I have no idea what was walking off was, but everybody said that if we all stop, we can probably get a few cents increase in the berries price. And I said, all right, let's do it. And ever since then, every time our community needs help, I'm always there. I'd rather be with our community member than the business. Yeah, so right now I'm 24. I started when I was 12. So yeah, 12 years organizing and just ready to learn. Again, even now I'm learning from a lot of amazing people that I have had the honor to meet. So a few of the things I'm working on right now is, well, I'm a member of Community to Community, Familias Unidas, the FUJ, and I'm also on the Immigration Advisory Board for the City of Bellingham. And so on that board, I'm on a subcommittee where we're asking the city to fund 100% of a immigrant resource center for our immigrant community. And so far for 3 years been very, very hard. You know, just telling our city that our immigrant community needs this. A lot of them don't speak don't speak English, so we need a center where they feel safe, and there are people there who speaks their language, so they can get the help that they need. And the one meeting I can really remember with the city is them telling us that we're not qualified to speak for our immigrant community, that we needed somebody else. And so, yeah, we're at that point of picking a organization that could do that work, and we really hope that whoever we pick collaborates with us and the community, so we can have an immigrant resource center that actually works for our community, and a center that our community trusts, and it's not just another building in the community. So yeah, we are just starting working on this. It's for the whole country. It's called HR 1511, the registry bill. We really want to bring attention to that from everybody, the community and the government, to support that, because it's for the whole country. If it passes, it will open a pathway for our undocumented community to gain legal status here, who have been in the state for 7+ years. So I want to share with you guys. So last August 6th, that was my birthday. I turned 24. On that day, I was in a march in California on a 3-day march for 40 miles. We marched to bring attention to that, HR 1511, and so far we have a lot of Congress people focusing on that and signing on to it. And so we really want our city and everybody to support that. Yeah, that's a lot. I'm doing a lot, but I want to say a big thank you to my parents who are here. So yeah, the big reason I'm here when I started was to help my parents. My parents don't speak English. They only speak Mixteco. They understand somewhat Spanish. Now they understand a bit of English, but when we started, we didn't really speak English. So it's a lot for my parents, and then a lot of other farm worker parents and a community member, along with my partner, Beatriz. She's been everywhere with me. She doesn't speak English, but I translate with her after every meeting. So yeah. Again, and I want to give a huge thank you to Rosalinda Guillen, Junga is here. I haven't seen you in a long time. It's awesome seeing you. And a really big thank you to Community. They just helped me so much in getting where I'm at. It's not easy, you know, being here. And yeah, we've been through a lot. So I want to give a huge thank you to Community and our other organization for helping me get here. And yeah, we're going to continue the fight. We're not stopping, and it doesn't stop here. Yeah. Sí se puede. Sí se puede. Sí se puede. All right, thank you all for coming. Go sit, Freddie. All right. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
This is for you.
Oh, this is awesome.
Thank you all. So, back up here again. Thanks for having me. The Peace and Justice Center has been giving out the Rosemary and Howard Harris Lifetime Peacemaker Award since 2005. And for some of us, 18 years might seem like a long time ago, but by the time the Peace and Justice Center had gotten started, tonight's award winner was already at it for several decades. That's right. Betsy Pernado retired from her work in public health some years ago, but has never retired from the work of trying to make Whatcom County a more just and equitable place. Betsy is probably best known for having founded our local chapter of Jobs with Justice in 1995. Pretty good. And that's an organization that still exists to this day. And if you're interested in getting involved, it's something you could go talk to Betsy about. Jobs with Justice, though, has been on the front lines of every progressive and radical struggle here in the county over the past 30 years, regularly showing up in solidarity with many of the organizations you see here today, and always insisting on the linkages between economic justice, racial justice, gender justice, and other aspects of social justice. Rather than cede that powerful term, justice, to those who conflate it with punishment, Betsy and Jobs with Justice focused on stopping the privatization of our social safety net, campaigning for single-payer health care, achieving minimum and living wages, limiting sprawl, expanding public transit, opposing neoliberal globalization, and supporting workers on countless picket lines, strikes, and other labor actions. Let's hear it for that. It's a pretty good resume, right? And this isn't even everything Jobs with Justice has done, and doesn't even begin to touch on Betsy's work with the Northwest Washington Central Labor Council, with the Bellingham Food Bank, with Community First, and with countless other moments that we've got to make sure that we all remember, because she's not very inclined to brag about it. I also want to note that the Dale family has made a donation sustaining the Youth Peacemaker Award this year in honor of this year's Lifetime Peacemaker awardee. So let's hear it for that donation in Betsy's honor. And at this point, there's nothing else to do but hand the mic over to her. So let's get a big, loud round of applause for Betsy Pernado.
Thank you very much, Josh, for those kind words. First, I want to thank the Whatcom County Peace and Justice Center for this great honor. The Peace and Justice Center has been an important organization since its creation 20 years ago by prescient members of the peace community, and continues to be an organization well worth supporting. It's an honor, too, for me, because I have had the pleasure of knowing and working with many of the people honored in the past, people for whom I have deep respect and admiration. Dottie and Al Dale were dear friends, mentors, teachers, and parents. Bill Disler was the first person we met when we dipped our toes into Central American solidarity in 1986 when we attended a CISPAS meeting. Rosalinda Guillen, Damani Johnson, and James Gillies were compañeros in the Whatcom County Rainbow Coalition. And Jamie Donaldson, Ellen Murphy, Shirley Osterhaus, and Barbara Rothgar have been models for me on how to live a just life. The main point I want to make today is that whatever social justice work I did, Central American Solidarity, Whatcom County Rainbow Coalition, and Jobs with Justice was done in collaboration with other people. The struggles and the work were collective struggles, done in collaboration and cooperation with others, and in a sense, this award is a recognition of the work of those people too. I think that the most transformative work for me was my work with Jobs with Justice. JWJ is a workers' rights organization. We stand with workers in solidarity when they fight for a union, bargain for a fair contract, go on strike, fight for rights on the job. The key word is solidarity. And J with J, we act with workers, not for them. When Jobs with Justice was forming in 1995 in Whatcom County, I was fortunate enough to experience the transformative quality of solidarity. The Whatcom County Health Department, where I worked in the WIC program, announced to my coworkers and me that the WIC program would be privatized, taken over by a nonprofit, and we would have the pleasure of training our replacements, which we declined to do. My coworkers and I approached Jobs with Justice to help save our program and our jobs. The Jobs with Justice organizer, Jonathan Rosenblum, told us, "You can win this fight, but it will be the fight of your life." The fight we took on did indeed change my life. In the end, we prevailed. Whatcom County found the money to keep WIC in the health department. But the important point is we didn't win the fight alone. Community members came forward to sign petitions, attend county council meetings, and contact county council. Union members from many unions in our community, other county workers, city workers, refinery workers, postal workers supported us. Our clients from WIC spoke out eloquently to defend WIC and to ask the council not to privatize the program. To be honest, I was overwhelmed by the support we received from other people. When you're in a fight and someone has your back, you never forget them. More people than I can remember a name, but I have to say some of their names. Ann Atkinson, Maury Foisey, Lori Province, Marv Princeton, Don Houchins, Donna Rushing, Randall Downey, David Warren, and my dear friends and former coworkers, Allison, Sue B., Sue P., Susan, Wendy, Jackie, Kelly, and Sandra. The feeling of strength and support we received made me feel that I wanted every worker in struggle, everyone fighting for justice and peace, to have that same feeling of solidarity that we experienced. That was one of the first fights that Jobs with Justice took on, and it was one of many. I have learned the power of standing in solidarity for many other people and many other struggles. Joseph Moore, John Munson, Chris Lindberg, Eileen Satushik, Carol Jacobson, Kathleen Cruz, Elaine Hornell, Jake Carton, Larry Hildes, Karen Weil, Michelle Stelovich, Mark Lowry, and last, but always there in support, Bob Marshall. Solidarity makes us all stronger and weaves a fabric of justice around us all. Thank you.
One more round of applause for both of our award winners. Thanks to both of them, not just for being here tonight and giving us so many reasons to celebrate, but for all their work, which has only begun and will carry on. And thanks to, I see a number of former Harris Award winners in the house. I want to thank Rosalinda for helping me get up to do this intro. And I don't see Junga anymore, but also thanks for her work with the Whatcom Civil Rights Project, which was an important part of connecting me to these struggles and getting us all here today. So Thank you all. I'm going to invite Alini back up here to introduce the next part of the program. So let's hear it for her.
Thank you, Josh, and thank you for your wonderful speeches. It's such an honor. Can you hear me okay? Okay. I just said thank you for being here. Thank you for these wonderful speeches, Betsy and Lilo. It's such an honor to share a stage with you. And thanks, Josh, for the introduction. I think that there's many people that make this work and this fight worth it, right? So thanks for honoring them.
Sabe de noite eu vou pra casa do Zé. Sabe de noite eu vou dançar um pouco e arrastar o pé. Sabe de noite eu vou pra casa do Zé. Sabe de noite eu vou dançar um pouco e arrastar o pé.
And this is your daily reminder that we own even the concept of transformative justice to BIPOC, LGBTQ plus folks who are in the front line at Stonewall, which was not just rainbow washing. It was a rally. It was a riot. It was people getting infuriated with police brutality and racism. So when we think about peace and social justice, why do we think about people being passive, right? I think that that's exactly the opposite of what peace is. Peace is the presence of justice. Peace is where everyone can feel dignified and fabulous and good. And that's what I want for you today, being fed with food that doesn't have a bunch of pesticides, right? Racial justice, gender justice, children's rights, those were all hand in hand. So what we try to do at the Peace and Justice Center every single day is to support you in getting activated and create a pacific, a non-violent, but active resistance. Right? That's right. So I'm here to give you a little bit more of an introduction to the theme as we continue, because that's connected to our last Peacemaker awardee speeches and also to the performance. So as we all know, current affairs have not been easy. They never are. This year's theme is just connected to that context. Transforming Justice is a creative invitation for all of us to respond to the surge in domestic and militarized police violence during the pandemic, to respond to the setbacks in national LGBTQ plus youth protection, labor and reproductive justice setbacks, and of course, instances of book bans about racial justice and sex education censorship. So Transforming Justice today really speaks to the pressing need to reevaluate our conventional and traditional notions of justice and move towards a care-centric strategy to cultivate a peaceful society. I'm here to remind you to check our Transformative Justice Learning Lab zine and also our No New Jail zine. Look into those questions. Try to figure out where can you be engaged in the community. Check in with the InfoFair people. They have so many resources for you. I also would love people to pull out their phones and begin making donations to the Whatcom Peace and Justice Center. That's an important resource, right? We have the only community-led peace space where you can come in at any time, well, mostly 12 to 4 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But pretty much anytime. If you actually check with Fiona, I'm there all the time. I actually conflate my house with the Peace and Justice Center pretty often. But you can come up and get oriented, hear about what's going on in town. We collect a peace newsletter with information for everyone from several different organizations, especially BIPOC-led organizations who are doing the work, so that you can get involved. We facilitate that for you, right? So please make sure that we have a space. Try to think about what would it look like. We did a timeline exercise last year, like putting together a bunch of archival work that these folks who are standing in front of me have done, and many others. And the Peace and Justice Center was there all the steps of the way. So try to imagine what, we always ask you to imagine what would a peace and just society look like, right? Like that's one of the exercises in the back there. But try to imagine, what would Whatcom County look like if we didn't have a Peace and Social Justice Center? What are the relationships that we would miss? What are the connections, the analysis, the opportunities, the knowledge that we're missing if we don't have a Peace and Justice Center? So your donation is critical for that, critical for that. So I'm going to invite Natalie Beloy, our amazing volunteer, to share a little piece of information with you and also check in about our fundraising pitch. Thanks, Natalie, for volunteering.
Thank you. Can we also just take a moment to appreciate Alini and all the tremendous work she does? She's truly incredible, and I'll say that I learned from Alini that in Portuguese there's the concept of a referent or reference, someone that you look to, kind of like role model, but slightly different than that, and you're one of those people for me. And I think that the Whatcom Peace and Justice Center is the place that I've met all of my reference points since moving to Bellingham. And I'll say that I grew up in the Rust Belt in Ohio, and I should have understood the important work of organizers and union organizers in particular, but I didn't really get that education. I grew up in the heart of Reagan-era politics, where that kind of education wasn't available to me. And since moving here, I've been so appreciative that there is a center like the Whatcom Peace and Justice Center to organize young people, to bring together intergenerational gatherings, to support my family in connecting with other people in the community, and to really meet just so many amazing people who have paved the way for really incredible things to happen here. And this work has to continue, right? So I'm going to donate today, and I'm going to invite all of you to do the same, to keep this work going for another year. I've been part of the Whatcom Peace and Justice Center's International Day of Peace organizing group for the last few years, and it's been so cool to meet people, including the new interns that have been with us this year. I don't know if any members of the Dale family are here right now. We just would really love to thank you for the work that you've done to make it possible for the interns. Yay! And not to put you on the spot, but I welcome you or anyone else to share for a few minutes why you support the Whatcom Peace and Justice Center, if you want to share a few words.
Well, just thank you. It's just to be very brief, my mom, Dottie Dale, the Youth Award is named after her. And so this is from the extended Dale family, a few $100s here to keep the work going on. And Betsy, a dear friend of me and my mom. And just great to have all that you do. And it's really important because, as you said, what would it be without the Peace and Justice Center here? What's really key, and which my folks really imbued in me, is that you can't have peace without justice. And our two recipients today are really involved with that end of it, putting it together so that we can have peace with justice. So there we go.